It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends yes! Caught! Touchdown! Did he get it?
Hey, it's Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Sorry about the weird beginning there. Weird technical issues here in the studio. But we're here. We're back. Jason Walker is back from spending some time in Indiana. And big news today for Utah State. Not only trying to rebound after a tough loss in the second round of the NCAA tournament, there's another loss as news today that Danny Sprinkle is, in fact, going to the University of Washington to be their next head coach. So we got to react to that. We got to react to the NCAA tournament and the Mountain West, how they've done so far, the tournament as a whole. And, of course, we can always look back and reflect on the season as a whole now that it is concluded. But Jason, there's really only one major story to start the show off today, and that's the news about Danny Sprinkle going to Washington.
Yeah, it's something that I was expecting. It's been the worst kept secret for, a month now? That, once that got leaked, it never went away.
Yeah.
It was pretty clear, when Jeff Goodman put that news out, he was 100% confident in it. And then the way the Aggies kept succeeding, there was kind of essentially no way that he wasn't going to go there because it's a great fit for Danny Sprinkle. He's more of a Western U.S. Guy, obviously has some ties to, not huge ties, but some ties to the University of Washington, where I think his dad played there, and I think Danny was technically born in Washington.
Yep.
Although I think he spent most of his time growing up in Montana. So he's more of a Montana son, kind of Washington born. But still, some ties there. And even aside from that, even if he didn't have those ties, I think he would have gone there just because it fits him very well for, Western U.S., a lot of resources. That's what he wants. He wants I think he was kind of bothered by the fact that he had to cobble together this roster at Utah State with essentially nothing. He just kind of had to duct tape a roster together, and he got about as lucky as you can get with the kind of players he was able to reel in, convincing them to come to Utah State instead of getting money and going somewhere else. And now he's going to have a chance to go out there and get the best players that money can buy. And so he's going to try and do that. And, I think after losing to Purdue, that really he would have been gone either way, but getting crushed
that pretty much cemented it.
Getting crushed by 40, it's like you realize, okay, there are good teams, and then there's teams that have the best players. And Utah State is not one of the teams with the best players.
Right. You can coach certain teams to victory, but then at the end of the day, talent supersedes a lot of that.
Yeah, it's why in college sports, recruiting is 90% of your job. And that's the thing why Danny Sprinkle was able to do so well. He didn't X's and O's this team to, some genius strategy to winning the Mountain West. He had good players he was able to recruit despite his difficulties. And he doesn't want to have to try and go through that again and again, try and beg his players to stay and only have a relatively small amount of money to throw at players. He wants to go somewhere where he can get the best players. I know Washington is not a blue blood.
No.
But it has tons of money, and Danny Sprinkle has shown that he can get good players wherever he's at, because he brought good players into Utah State, and you look at his high school recruiting class filled with very promising players.
Yeah, and then part of the criticism of the coach at Washington that Sprinkle now replaces is that they had resources. He was able to get players and give them a lot of money, but at the end of the day, he wasn't a very good coach. So if you can be a good coach and get the players you want, that's what every program is trying to align. good coaches with quality players while also compensating them so they'll stay. And though the world of college basketball, that continues to escalate and will become harder and more challenging every year.
Yeah.
So it's not it doesn't automatically mean he's going to have the success at Washington like he had at Montana or Utah State just because he has money to pay players, because that introduces a whole other set of problems that coaches have to deal with.
Yeah, he's going to have to deal with players who are largely motivated by the amount of money that they're getting, and he's going to be facing disgruntled players. And yeah, you mentioned there's a whole host of challenges that he probably didn't have to handle at Utah State. And the other challenge is that he's going to have to go to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And that's a league that's not going to be any more forgiving than the Mountain West does. And he's going to rebuild a roster again. Washington's lost a lot this offseason. Probably going to lose a little bit more as the offseason goes along. So he's going to have to rebuild an entire roster from scratch there. He'll have a lot of NIL to do that. But he's going to basically have to repeat what he did at Utah State, or he's not going to last his entire 6-year contract.
At the end of the day, money talks, and it looks like the terms of his deal have been released, and it looks like he's going from about $800,000 at Utah State to $3.2 million at Washington.
Yeah, and that's where it starts. By the end of his contract, it gets into the $4 million. So I think it was $22 million-ish over 6 years, which, like every contract, it escalates.
Right, it escalates. Goes from 3.2 and then finishes at like 4.2.
Yeah, so it's not the same year-by-year type of same money year by year. It does go up. So, but yeah, in general, it's $22 million over 6 years, and yeah, Utah State was never going to compete with that. I think the best they could probably do was half that. I don't know what they offered. I know one of our texters is asking that. I still don't know the terms of the offer made. We may never know that for sure, but I imagine it probably wasn't much better than 5-6 years, $10 million at most.
At most. So, yeah, I know a lot of you want to weigh in on this. This has been news that broke earlier today and been rumored to be in the works for some time now. But Danny Sprinkle officially signed the Memorandum of Understanding today. And there's apparently issued a brief statement that to confirm the fact that he is in fact going to Washington to be their next head coach. So let's get to the full court press text line, 435-339-0321. A number of these texts started to roll through before we even started the show today. 8968. Well, that was expected. Not sure if Danny Sprinkle had enough time to unpack from moving from Montana State. Now the big question is, who is he going to take with him? And is he going to leave as big of a mess as Odom left?
Yeah, that's something I know a lot of other textures have asked us. Why don't we get through a few more before we...
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be some similar themes here, and we can circle back on them.
Yeah.
6543, great season for the Ags, overmatched yesterday. Why didn't we play everyone regardless of fouls? Why didn't we call a timeout during the run they had before it was too late? Oh, well, thanks for the work you guys put into making a great season. Now we wait. The wait is over. He's gone. Wonder how much damage there will be. Stu Morrill-type guy is no more. 2444. Hang with us. This is a long one here. What a roller coaster of a weekend. The unforgettable high of dominating a Big 12 team to win our first NCAA tournament game in a long time. Tough loss against perhaps the best team in the country. And then the confirmation this morning that Coach Sprinkle is headed to Washington. While I'm disappointed that he decided to leave, I'm more at peace with the news this time around than I was with Coach Smith or Coach Odom, realizing that Utah State basketball is much more than any one coach. I enjoyed every minute of the season, and I'm confident they will find another great coach to lead us to more success in the near future. Excited to hear any news or potential candidates that either of you might be aware of. Go Aggies. 0298 texting in. If we can't keep one of the top coaches from Sprinkle's staff, I think they should consider Spencer Nelson, who would do a good job and stay. Okay, so before we continue on, because I know there's still a lot more, but let's get to this Yeah, a roller coaster of emotions for the weekend. Friday, Utah State gets that win, gets the monkey off their back, multiple trips to the NCAA tournament, but perennially going up against some of the top blue chip programs in the country. It's always going to be tough to get a win when you do that. And then even when they started to get better seeds and more preferential treatment from the NCAA selection committee, it was still tough for Utah State to get that win. And even this year, with some signs of disrespect from the selection committee, Utah State still went out there and got the win against a TCU team, which was coming out of arguably the best basketball conference in America.
Yeah, it was a very good TCU team, but yeah, Utah State proved that it very much deserved to be there and just absolutely cooked TCU. Really, I expected TCU to be better in a lot of ways, but Utah State, they were up to the challenge. They were up to being physical and handling TCU in a lot of ways. But yeah, it was a roller coaster where then suddenly you're up against a team that there was just no answer. The Aggies had nothing. And I know a lot of people were complaining about the fouls, and I get it. There were a lot of those, but Utah State committed most of those fouls. And Danny Sprinkle said it after the game, where it's like, yeah, there were a couple, especially when they were in the post battling Edey, and they weren't allowed to try and go for the ball without there being a foul called, but most of those were fouls. To me, any complaint about the referee was more that Purdue was physical on the other end, and the Aggies weren't getting foul calls for them.
Yeah, it did not go both ways.
Yeah, that was my biggest complaint, is that Edey gets fouls called on him, but he never commits fouls, apparently, even though there were two pretty clear fouls, in my opinion.
If you and I just shared this over the weekend, but The Athletic put a pretty interesting article together about officials. They're struggling. They have been struggling this year. They'd struggled some last year, but they've also been struggling more this year. And how to officiate Edey. I mean, he's just such a unique player that they have a hard time being consistent with how they officiate games involving Edey. But the problem was that Utah State, they were picking up fouls that weren't against Edey. They were fouling Kaufman-Red, who started off great in the first quarter, and he's the one that was drawing all the fouls.
Yeah, I think that's where Isaac Johnson picked up one or both of his fouls was against him.
Yeah.
And that's what really threw things off, because I think they had a really nice little game plan going initially with Isaac Johnson. Okay, maybe you can get things going, draw Edey out of the paint. They were running something that caught Purdue way off guard. They were not expecting to be seeing a ball screen between Great Osborne and Isaac Johnson.
Yeah,
Matt Painter,
big screens. Yeah,
Painter admitted that after the game. He was like, completely blew him out. Now, they might have had an adjustment for that down the line. They might have figured something out, but they didn't have to, because Johnson fouled out and Sprinkle's like, all right, we're pulling you. And, you think he played 14 seconds the rest of the half after picking up those fouls. So that really threw the Aggies off. And then once they went cold late in the first half, it was done. I know Purdue, went on a run, but it was kind of a slow burn. Offensive rebounds kind of helped that, where they were still missing a lot of shots, but they get offensive rebounds, get points. They go on a 15-0 run, but it took a while. But the Aggies missed 12 straight shots.
Right.
That's what killed the Aggies in that game.
Yeah, offensively they couldn't keep up.
Yeah, and then in the second half, once Purdue, they went on a 7-0 run to start the half or something like that. And then at that point, it was pretty much done. And then the Aggies kind of rolled over and just let it happen.
Yeah, we talked on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
When we did our just a podcast that looking at other teams and how the few teams that were able to figure out Purdue, they used up every foul available to their big men, and it seemed like Sprinkle wasn't willing to do that. Yeah, and so it was, especially as that in the second half of the first half, Poland, Sacco, and Johnson, it just it seemed like the Aggies were out of sorts, and then they were just kind of grasping at whatever they could do to throw at him.
Yeah, I feel like this had to have been one of those where it's just throw Isaac Johnson out there and let him play. What are you going to lose at this point? Just do it. He actually did put Isaac Johnson out there for a minute, but it was only because Zach Edey wasn't out there for a couple of minutes late in the first half. Then Edey checked back in, and immediately like, I don't think Sprinkle was expecting Edey to come back in and like last second sub, like, well, hold on, get Isaac back out. Just he wasn't willing to take that risk, and it's a small nitpick. It's not like Coach Sprinkle was out-coached in that game. He was just going up against an impossible matchup. But you wonder, maybe he obviously had one little genius idea with Isaac Johnson and Great Osobor. So he was able to throw some wrinkles in, but then once foul trouble hit, he had nothing to respond with, which in fairness, what coach is.
Right.
But, maybe take a gamble. Try it out. They were down like 16 at that point. Try something. But it didn't end up working, so.
Just a roller coaster of emotions. It's a great term to describe the weekend. As far as coaching candidates to replace Sprinkle, we'll get to that. To this point on 0298 about Spencer Nelson, I mean, Spencer, great personality. He lives here. He was an assistant coach under Tim Duryea. I just don't know if he wants to be a head coach.
As I say, it's like I've seen his name get thrown around like every single time. The last few times the head coaching vacancies come up, has he ever actually wanted the job? Like that's step one.
Right.
Not even getting into whether or not he's qualified or would do a good job there. Like, does he even want it? And
would he be a great ambassador for the institution? Good recruiter? Yeah, probably. But I don't know that he wants to be a head coach.
Yeah. So that's.
I mean, if he changes his mind and wants to throw his hat in the ring, yeah, great. Take a strong look at him.
Yeah, but I've just not heard anything that he wants the job. So if that changes, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Let's see. A couple more texts here. 9315. Can USU recover from the two crushing bow? And then Washington history not nearly as high as USU.
No, but again, it's about resources. And when these head coaches leave, and I know there's a lot of speculation, if enough Utah State coaches fail, then maybe a coach will think twice. They never will. Because, when has a player ever thought twice about transferring? Even though so many fail. Because to them, they're moving up. And for Utah State, the coaches they get, they had success moving up the last time. Danny Sprinkle had a lot of success moving up from Montana State to Utah State. Ryan Odom, he had success. Craig Smith, they all had, so they think, okay, we're just going to move up another level. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. And I've talked about how the transition is just different. Because the transition between Montana State and Utah State, yeah, it's a better league, but it's not that different. It's different between Utah State and Washington. But I don't know how many of them think of it that way. But they're always going to think, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to succeed. And the thing is, some of them do. I mean, Eric Musselman went from Nevada to Arkansas, and he's doing fine.
Yeah.
At least last I checked, he was doing fine. I think this year might have been a slight down year, but he's had plenty of success at Arkansas. So there are coaches that go up and succeed. And some of them will fail. Some of them will succeed. That's just the way it's going to be. They're never going to think twice about leaving just because a lot of other Utah State coaches have not succeeded.
No. It's hard to... And we shouldn't be comparing one to the next because circumstances are different.
Yeah, and so the thing is saying, okay, Washington isn't Utah State. No, it's not. But he's going to get a ton more money. He's going to have a ton more resources. He's going to play in a bigger stadium. And if he has success at Washington, the crowds are going to be just as big as they were at the Spectrum. Now, is it the Spectrum? No. Danny Sprinkle doesn't care.
No. Well, there's no NBA team in that town right now.
Yeah.
So he has the opportunity to be the basketball place.
Yeah. And I know it's a football school, but still, he can be the guy that, that's the basketball team. And if he has success, people will come and watch. They'll fill the stadium. They'll have all the players. He'll be, the coolest guy in town, maybe next down or whatever football does. He might always be playing second fiddle to football, but still.
Yeah.
He has that chance to be that guy, and so he's not necessarily going to care. If he fails, he might be, unhappy. Maybe he'll look back and say, maybe I shouldn't have left Utah State. But he believes that he'll succeed. He may very well do so, and it doesn't matter if it's not on the spectrum. It doesn't matter if Washington doesn't have the tradition. He'll walk in there in that press conference and talk about Washington's tradition anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's what coaches do. They walk in and they say, this program has the greatest basketball tradition ever. Coach, this team has won 3 games in 27 years. Greatest tradition I ever saw. And that's how it's going to be.
Will be interesting to see how that goes. 9952, a couple of texts here. We can't have nice things. Yes.
That's true.
No names in the portal yet, but what USU players have made comments about entering the portal. I haven't heard of any.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, during our show, somebody announces they're going into the portal.
I mean, everybody has eligibility except Darius Brown. He is the one guy who can't come back.
Yeah, so everybody else, doors are open.
I mean, you'd hope they'd all stay, or at least a good number of them do. Don't know what the Washington roster looks like, what players are going to stay or will need to be replaced.
Yeah.
So it might, but that doesn't necessarily mean they will all equally follow Sprinkle. There's chance for these guys to go lots of different places.
Yeah, that's the thing. Only 2 of Utah State's roster last year followed Ryan Odom. The rest left to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see several players leave. A couple may follow Danny Sprinkle. I don't know if
Don't know about recruits.
Yeah, I don't know if Great Osborne will. Ian Martinez. There are the high school recruits. We'll see.
A lot more to digest, more for you to react to. Love to continue to get your thoughts and reactions to the news today and the weekend that was. What an up and down weekend for Utah State athletics. 435-339-0321.
Girls, insist he take you to Jarek's. Picking out your wedding ring is an experience you will never forget. Come to a place where the mood is right and the setting is perfect for romance. Jarek's Fine Jewelry in Logan. The perfect collection of memorable designs, classic creation, and modern marvels. If you want an intimate, romantic experience you will never forget, then insist he takes you to Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's at 930 North Main in Logan.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. Life is good. Life at My Mattress is good too. Why might I say that? Because today is a good day to slay a Goliath. The other day I went into a mattress store here in Logan that has 2,500 stores across the country. I'd say that's a Goliath. We were 20% less expensive on every bed that we both offer. We may not have 2,500 stores, but we are number 1 in Cache Valley. Better product and better prices. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
JM Mechanical knows spring is sure to make its appearance someday, and when it does, how soon we'll forget the snow, ice, and 0-degree temperatures. 90-plus degree days will take over. JM Mechanical knows how to deal with the extreme temperatures of northern Utah. They know how to replace every type of heating or air conditioning brand. Fast 24-hour service is available in Box Elder, Cache, and Franklin counties with a 100% satisfaction guarantee and upfront pricing. Call JM Mechanical at 563-6267. That's 563-6267.
When life throws a dent in your plans, trust Mako Auto Body Repair to get you back on the road fast. They specialize in collision repair, offering quick service without compromising on quality work. With no out-of-pocket repairs, they'll help you navigate the insurance claims process, making your repair journey hassle-free. Need your ride transported? Mako offers 24/7 towing. Your journey continues with Mako Auto Body and Repair in Logan. Top-notch collision repair, conveniently located on 10th West in Logan.
This message brought to you by Cache Valley Extermination.
Now is the time to declare war. There's a battle brewing and bugs are bugging. Are you ready? Spiders, wasps, and box elder bugs need to die, and they need to die now. They aren't cuddly, cute, and they aren't invited. I'm Bryce with Cache Valley Extermination, and now is the best time to sign up for summer packages. We want to reward you for planning in advance. No contracts, no BS, just dead bugs. And service with a smile.
Cache Valley Extermination is currently looking for employees. Call 752-8668 for employment details. With Cache Valley Extermination, 752-8668 for employment today.
Nothing beats March Madness. The pure sound of a swish, the rattle of a slam dunk, the fans on their feet for the big moments. And the action just keeps getting better until a national champion is crowned. Hear all the action with Westwood One's exclusive coverage of this year's NCAA tournament right here.
Catch all the action of March Madness on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, online at 1069thefan.com or the Fan mobile app.
Following the local teams, it's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Yeah, the big news of the day, Danny Sprinkle is going to Washington. And Utah State has just released a statement, a release about the news today, about less than 5 minutes ago here while we've been on the air. It starts out with some comments from President Cantwell, and it's basically, we're a great institution, and athletics has been great for faculty and staff and alumni to come together, and there's a winning track record here. It's that's all fine, good stuff. And then a comment from Deanna Sabo, and says Utah State men's basketball had a great season under Coach Sprinkle's leadership. We did everything possible to retain him with a package that would have been highly competitive in the Mountain West in terms of compensation and support. Our tradition of success over the years has never been about one coach or one player. 24 NCAA tournament appearances, including 12 this century under several head coaches. Winning is a part of our DNA. We have an incredible and knowledgeable fan base with generous donors, and we compete in one of the nation's most competitive conferences. We're aligned with the university on a pursuit of excellence with elite facilities and a proven commitment to the student-athlete experience. Our search is already underway, and our candidate pool is strong. I cannot wait to introduce our new head coach and begin to write the next chapter in our storied basketball history, close quote.
Yeah, it's a good statement. It's filled with the typical PR stuff that you get from the president and AD, talking up their team. They're not lying, though.
No.
When they say a lot of that stuff, they're not hyping up, they're not blowing hot air. Like, this is a program that, Stu Morrill was carrying a lot of the weight for some of that high number of NCAA tournament appearances. But, I mean, we'll be going on, 4 coaches in 5 seasons? And you've got 4 NCAA tournament appearances, I think, in that same span, roughly. So, if I'm doing my math right, I think over the last 5 seasons. I don't know but the point stands. Like, they've been successful.
Right. In 6 seasons with Smith, Odom, and Sprinkle, the Aggies went to 4 NCAA tournament. We would have had 1 more where they qualified to go, and 1 NIT appearance.
Yeah. So they've made
postseason, high-level postseason every year in the last 6 years.
Yeah, and the highest on all but 1 occasion, all but 2 because 1 got canceled. But
right.
In multiple Mountain West tournament championships, multiple regular season championships, 1 shared, 1 outright. So there's an expectation of success and an expectation that Utah State will be good. It's not a guarantee.
No.
Like, we're going to go into another season where there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. And that's something like, I found out the news, my plane had just landed coming back from Indianapolis. And the first thing I do, because, I'm addicted to social media, I get on Twitter, and first thing I see is 2 minutes before I pulled out my phone after landing. So probably as I was landing, the news was breaking. So I caught it pretty much right as it happened. But then, the whole process of walking back to my car and taking the shuttles, just thinking about how last off season was, how crazy it was. And I kind of enjoyed it to some degree, because I love doing these random deep dives into players and doing scouting and going and watching film on some of these guys. But my goodness, are we going to go through another one where you're replacing an entire roster, where it's you're getting excited about next year's season? Say, hey, what can Great Osborne do again? What can Mason Falsev and Isaac Johnson grow
How
into.
can these guys grow and develop and take their next steps?
Yeah, you look at Mason, you're seeing, look how good he's playing, and he's having these great games. Like, imagine, like, what's he going to be in 2 or 3 years here in Logan, where he combines this wonderful like aggression, this great finishing. What's he going to do when he combines it with a developing mid-range and even 3-point shot? And as he grows his role from kind of third or fourth scorer on the team, occasionally the leading scorer because he has the hot hand that night, but like, what happens when he eventually becomes the guy? It's like with Sam Merrill. He started out in that same kind of position. I mean, heck, even J.C. Carroll was kind of in that spot where they start their career playing as freshmen, are there as solid scorers, and then they grow their game, grow their role, and they become superstars. And now it's like, yeah, Mason, probably gone, because that's just the way the transfer portal works. We just have to assume that everyone is gone until they tell us they're coming back.
Right. Yeah. Being the local tie, having the local tie is great, and you hope that is a strong enough draw to keep them, but doesn't necessarily have to be.
It didn't keep him when he came out of high school.
No, you're true.
That's the thing. This guy committed to the University of Utah. He came to Utah State because Ryland Jones came here. Like, the tie that took him to Utah, like, he has other reasons for going places, and it's not necessarily, like, I think he probably does want to stay in state, but BYU's not too far down the road.
No.
Like, does he want to go
playing well
there?
in the Big 12.
Yeah. So maybe he stays. He's probably one of the more likely candidates to stay, but still very likely to explore his options. He's like, we're going to be seeing in the next few days. Like, I'm already drafting my transfer portal tracker. It's sitting there on my computer.
Because a lot of money is going to be thrown at a lot of these guys.
Yeah, Danny Sprinkle's going to throw money at guys like Great Osborne. I don't know how many he's going to take because like he only took Darius Brown and Great Osborne. He could have taken other players, but he took 2. Then he brought in a bunch of other guys that were maybe more fit for the Mountain West level of play. He'll probably do something like that where he analyzes, okay, which of his players on this year's Utah State team could he take with him? Osborne probably. He'd probably be able to handle, Big Ten basketball, especially if he continues to develop his game. If he develops anything resembling a 3-point shot, he'll be virtually unguardable.
Yeah.
No matter who he plays. So, it might take him. Maybe he'll take Max Agbonkpolo if he feels. Agbonkpolo played at USC for 2 years. He's very capable of playing at a Power 5 level, Power 6 level. Ian Martinez. Yeah, he played 2 years at Maryland.
Right.
So those are guys that you could see going. The recruiting class, we'll see what happens with guys like Christopher Cox, Jordy Barnes. There's suddenly going to be a whole lot of room for those guys probably.
Case why not?
Yeah, Case why not? That's a big one where it's like there's a lot of excitement over him and his scoring potential. Does Danny Sprinkle take him to Washington and say, hey, look, you can come play at, I think Washington's closer to him than Logan is. So it's like that's something you suddenly have to worry about. So you got to keep an eye on those guys. Hopefully you see one or both of those guys. Terrence Hillman, he plays in Oregon. He's a high school kid in Oregon, so he probably might want to stay closer to home. And he's a very good recruit. And I think Danny Sprinkle will want both of those players. He's not going to be able to fit all of them, but I think he's going to try and poach at least a couple of those high school recruits. So a lot of things to pay attention to, a lot of things to watch for. I can't really offer any predictions. I know some guys are going to stay, but a lot of guys are going to leave.
Let's get through a lot more of your texts here. 435-339-0321-5338 chiming in. Wouldn't it be just if a Sprinkle went 5-25 next year?
It could very easily happen where
I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I'd be shocked.
He's a good coach.
Like 5-25 is on the low, but like him having a bad first year, I don't know if bad is right, but like below average first year, I would not be surprised by that at all. Just because, I mean, he's admitted himself, like, what he did his first year at Utah State probably shouldn't have happened. And he's going to have to essentially do the same thing at Washington with a home court that's not going to win him as many games as the Spectrum did.
Right.
Like, he kind of got handed some of those wins because he didn't have to have, like, this immediate success before the Spectrum showed up. He will have to have that success before Washington shows up and gives him a quality home court. He's going to be playing in the Big Ten, and that's going to be incredibly unforgiving. Like, you can put together some good players, but you need to be a full-on team. And I think he's going to he's probably going to go through a brutal learning curve. We saw that with Craig Smith. Craig Smith may or may not be climbing out of. I've kind of been on the train that he's already on his way out because of his mediocre seasons. But he did make the NIT this year, so he seems to be
he's
improving.
winning in the NIT. He may have. I don't know if he's necessarily bought himself an extra year, but I think he's cooled off some of the heat that's been on him.
Yeah, I think I was almost assuming that he was out after this year, and I don't think that's right. That assessment on my part was wrong. But yeah, maybe he's slowly improving, and maybe Danny Sprinkle will go through a similar thing. Ryan Odom, he did okay in his first. He made the NIT in his first year at Utah State. We can't say that he's having a crappy time at VCU.
Yeah,
he's going to have some time to build things there. So I don't know. I'd be really surprised if Danny Sprinkle had a year.
And really, it's really not fair to compare Ryan Odom's departure to Sprinkle's and Smith's, because Sprinkle and Smith moved up the food chain for more money and in power conferences. Odom just wanted to get back to the East Coast. Very much a lateral move. The money was virtually the same. And the conference competition was the same, if not a step down.
I would say it was a step down based on, at least this year. The A-10 is usually better than it was this year. But
that was more about I'm homesick. I'm not really an East or West Coast, Western United States guy. I'm an East Coast guy, and we want to get back to that area.
Yeah.
That's what that was. So it's very different than what Craig Smith and Danny Sprinkle have decided to do. A bunch more of your texts getting through. I want to make sure we get to them. 4446, what was the offer USU made? I don't know the specific number other than inferring based on everything that I've heard and said that would be in the neighborhood of 1.2 to 1.5. I think you're probably closer to the 1.2 range.
Yeah, somewhere in that where he'd crossed into the seven-figure range. Something they've never, I don't think any basketball coach has ever actually been paid that. I think they offered that to both Odom and Sprinkle in extensions, but neither of them took it.
Right. And then is there any ethics review or tampering that needs to be investigated on timeline of when offers were made?
There's no rules against it, so there's nothing you can do.
I'm not aware of any.
It's only if it's in the contract. There's no rules against, other than what's in the contract. There's rules about, promoting the university and stuff like that. That's the closest you get to maybe there being something against negotiating, but even then it's not in the contract. There's no tampering.
And that's why these guys have agents.
Yeah, that's the deal, the reports coming out, even before the Purdue game was hey, this deal's pretty much done.
Right.
And the reports say the deal
job is his
done.
if he wants it.
It wasn't just job is there if he wants it. It was he has the job and is just waiting for Utah State's season to be done and then move on. That's how done it was.
Didn't even wait 24 hours to announce
By
it.
the time his plane landed in Logan, he was already head coach of Washington.
Yes.
So that's just how
the
it
nature
is.
of college athletics, friends.
Yeah, and that's something that I think you could maybe look into fixing if you're the NCAA. I don't think they care. It makes things bad for mid-major programs, but power conferences, they like it.
Yeah.
And again, the other side of this is, and I feel like we have to remind ourselves and everyone, it's Utah State's going to go out and do the same thing to some lower major program, most likely.
Yeah, absolutely.
They stole Danny Sprinkle from Montana.
They're going to go steal somebody away from somewhere else. It would not surprise me, Jason, if Utah State was already making offers 2 weeks ago to potential candidates.
Yeah.
Because they read as much as we do. They know more than we do.
Yeah.
So they know they have to start covering their butts to try to figure out, we don't want to lose somebody to somebody else. We got to get ahead of this and start inquiring of interest. What interested parties might be out there for a potential opening that looks like it's going to happen?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that Utah State is not the good guy in this story. They're a victim in some respect, but then they're the villain in somebody else's story.
Yes.
They were the villain in Montana State's story. They, we talked about, Danny Sprinkle coming in and poaching from Utah State's roster. Well, Utah State fans were eyeing Montana, like myself. We were looking at, all right, Montana State's roster, who's coming to Utah State?
Yeah.
And when Utah State gets their next head coach, we're going to be looking at their roster, whoever it is, and say, oh, we want that player, and we want
bring that player with you.
Yeah,
bring that recruit with you.
We're going to be shopping the other roster. So it's dog-eat-dog world, and Utah State is in the middle of the food chain. They will get their head coach poached, and they will go poach somebody else's.
5452, being an Aggie fan flat out sucks sometimes. I hate being a stepping stone program. Yep.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Again, it's a roller coaster where it's like you get the amazing highs of winning the conference the conference championship and an NCAA tournament win, but the knowledge that success with that same coach is not going to last until you find the right guy who's willing to settle down with $1.5 million and willing to say, look, I can recruit here with less resources. If the Aggies ever find that guy, they'll keep him for 7-8 years. Until then, settle on, having a coach until he has that 26, 27 win season, and then he's gone.
Yeah, we have some serious coaching entropy here. You go from Stu Morrill, who was here forever, then Duryea, who was here for 4 years.
Something like that.
Coach for 4. Then Smith for 3, Odom for 2, Sprinkle for 1. I'm nervous for who that next coach is, if he's even going to survive the season.
Yeah, it's like we're going to have a head coach that's here for 0 years.
Yeah. All right, another text before we take another timeout. This is from 6294. How much was Sprinkle's buyout? Why don't they make the next coach's buyout so punitive? Bigger schools will really have to pay to get our coach. Maybe bigger schools will look elsewhere.
So the thing is that when coaches negotiate these contracts, they want the freedom to be able to leave. So coaches will very specifically, they will not go for those kind of buyouts.
It can be prohibitive to sign the guy you want.
Yeah, because it's like if a coach walks in, if they're potentially viewing Utah State as a stepping stone, and even if they're not, they realize hey, if I have a good season, I can get a big payday. But if Utah State comes in and says, hey, all right, we're going to put this buyout where the school have to pay us $10 million if you ever leave your contract early. It's great for Utah State, but the coach is going to say, heck no, I don't want that in my contract. Even though it doesn't affect his pay or anything like that, it affects his mobility. And coaches want that freedom. And so they're not really going to accept something like that because it's detrimental to their ultimate interests.
Yeah, and we see cases where coaches get contract extensions after some success, and that buyout can increase some that they'll agree to.
And see, when they do that, they're trading that mobility for security.
Right. But look at what just happened in Washington. They had a head coach who had a contract extension before, who had several more years left on his deal. They bought him out. They bought out Danny Sprinkle's contract, and now they're going to pay Danny Sprinkle $3.2 million next year. That's what you're dealing with, folks. A place like Washington, Power 5 conference program can come in, and they've just got money to burn like that. You could put a big fat buyout on it. If they want your guy, they're going to find a way to get your guy.
Yeah, because they'll just go to their donors and say, hey, help us spend $10 million to fix our head coaching situation. Because they'll sell them on Danny Sprinkle, which they clearly did.
Yeah. All right, got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. Still time for you to weigh in. We'll try to get to as many texts as we can this hour. Some of them might not get addressed until next, but continue to let us know your thoughts and reactions to the news of today and what happened over the weekend. 435-339-0321.
Do you have a backup generator, or have you explored the options of adding one to your home? Generac backup generators will keep your home or business safe and cool during the summer months if the power goes out. Do you already have a system? Golden Spike Electric can service it for you. If you don't have one, Golden Spike Electric can find the right model for your needs. Find them online at gsegenerators.com or call 435-257-3016. Golden Spike Electric and Generac, power you can count on.
What can a business technology partner do for you? Well, a great one like Les Olson IT will help you become more efficient, more secure, and help you stay on top of your network. Plus, they have all the products and services you need. Computers, servers, business telephones, surveillance cameras, office applications are just the start. Les Olson IT's network cabling team can help you build a network from scratch or improve your existing network. Learn more about your office technology partner at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
It's it's time to vote in the Best of Northern Utah contest, presented by the Cater Shop Menswear Store. Show some love to your favorite local businesses and cast your vote at thebestofnorthernutah.com. Whether it's your favorite pizza joint, a friendly handyman, or the cleanest car wash in town, we want to know who you think deserves the title of the best. You can vote once per day in multiple categories. Vote now at bestofnorthernutah.com and let your voice be heard.
Best of Northern Utah.
Nearly 21 years ago, Cafe Sabor opened their doors in historic Logan train station. With the help of hundreds of amazing employees and patronage of thousands of wonderful customers, Cafe Sabor is proud to have been voted 3 years in a row Cache Valley's favorite Mexican restaurant in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Follow Cafe Sabor on social media for giveaways and promotions. Search Cafe Sabor for a restaurant near you. Thank you, Cache Valley, from your friends at Cafe Sabor.
You know you recognize that song. I'm talking to you, class of 1976. Hi, this is Rusty Allen with LSS Insurance, and turning 65 means it's time to talk Medicare. LSS is here to help. Call 752-9493 for help with Medicare. As your local agent, we will research benefits, costs, and look up prescriptions so there aren't any surprises at the pharmacy. Call LSS at 752-9493.
Are you getting overwhelmed by decisions regarding Social Security? Adams Wealth Advisors is here to help you secure your financial future by helping you navigate the complexities of the Social Security system. The team of experts at Adams Wealth Advisors is ready to guide you through the process and tailor a custom financial plan that fits your goals and aspirations. With Adams Wealth Advisors, it's not just about managing your wealth, it's about empowering your future. Call 752-1702 or search online for Adams Wealth Advisors to schedule an appointment with a Social Security expert today.
The Aggies are number one here. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Voting in the Best of Northern Utah contest continues. Just go to bestofnorthernutah.com. Cast your vote. You have until Wednesday to let your voice be heard. You're letting your voice be heard on our Full Court Press text line. A lot of activity there today. As it becomes official, Danny Sprinkle is headed to Washington, Utah State University. President Cantwell and Director of Athletics Sabo issued a statement this afternoon, just as we went on the air, shortly after we went on the air, basically saying that they provided a significant offer to keep Sprinkle here, but in the end, he's chosen to go elsewhere, and they're going to do their due diligence to try to find the next head coach to come to Logan. A couple more texts coming through. 3331 texting in. Nevada got shafted. Nevada got shafted.
Here, which one are we on?
Oh, that's from last week. Sorry. The tournament takeaway, Big 12, way overrated. If the Aggies would have gotten a 5th seed, we'd probably win one more game. Yeah, maybe. I mean, seeding does matter.
I mean, yeah, if you got a 5, so like, you look at San Diego State, they're thumping their chest over the Sweet 16. They played 2 double-digit seeds again.
Yeah, their path compared to Utah State's path and compared to anyone else in the Mountain West's path, very different.
Yeah. Now, granted, their run last year, they went through like the number 1 overall seed in Alabama. They earned their spot. Like, say, okay, they ended up playing like, who'd they play in the semifinal?
I don't remember.
For some reason, I was thinking it was FAU, but FAU played UConn in the Final Four. But like San Diego State, they beat a 1 seed on their way. Even though I think 2 straight years to get to the Sweet 16, they played a lot easier teams.
Yeah,
but still, it's hard to beat anyone in the tournament.
Seeding matters, matchups matter.
Yeah,
but
and like
if you've got,
like
if
Utah
you're the
State
higher seed,
I think Utah State would have been able to handle a lot of other teams had they not had the, country's player of the year. It was going to be a 2-time player of the year.
See, 7994, how much is the buyout for Sprinkle's contract? Is this money and anything else USU can offer open any markets that previously were not open for recruiting a new head coach?
So here's the thing. There's almost this expectation that Utah State's going to take the contract they were offering Danny Sprinkle and turn around and offer it to somebody else. They're not going to do that.
No.
They're going to turn around and do exactly what they did with Ryan Odom, where they didn't hand Ryan Odom's extension offer to Danny Sprinkle. They basically offered him Ryan Odom's contract that he was on, like $800,000. Maybe they'll up to like $850,000, $900,000. I don't know exactly how much they'll pay the next coach, but it's going to be something like that where they're not going to throw that contract at somebody who's unproven. They'll maybe keep some of that money in reserve, and to actually answer the initial question, the answer is somewhere around $2.5 million.
If I'm not mistaken, it's up to the coach personally to do that buyout, but it's the institution who helps get him there.
Well, yeah. That's the thing. It's in the contract that the coach has to pay it, but the institution pays the coach, pays the buyout.
Right. 4086, before we take another timeout. Smith, 3 years. Odom, 2 years. Sprinkle, 1 year. Next coach, 6 months. Yes. Just don't care anymore. Rebuild again year after year. Money and greed will get you nowhere. Yeah, it's definitely a problem. Another quick timeout here in the Full Court Press. More of your texts reacting to the news today. Danny Sprinkle has accepted the job at the University of Washington.
You've been putting up with a dirty, dusty wood stove for years. Why haven't you changed it? Go to Advanced Fireplace and Stove in Logan. Look through their showroom for ideas on Quadra-Fire pellet and wood stoves and Heat and Glow gas fireplaces. They have several demos in place so you can see firsthand how your project will look. And you can trust the pros at Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They'll do the job right. Advanced Fireplace and Stove. 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Spring will get here, and when it does, those old rusted-out vehicles need to be moved. Call DD Auto and Salvage and let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
Spice up the winter blues with a delicious outing to Logan's first family-friendly brew pub, Prodigy Brewing. Excited to announce their success at the 2023 Tasting Alliance World Beer Competition. Prodigy Brewing won 3 of the highest medals. Prodigy invites you to try their juicy burgers, sizzling wood-fired pizzas, tasty salads, bar bites, and kids menu. Prodigy Brewing is in downtown Logan, proud to be one of Logan's vibrant downtown food and beverage destinations. Prodigy Brewing, extraordinary service and family-friendly.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
Interviews, analysis, and a little bit of fun mixed in. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
If you're a do-it-yourselfer, your locally owned Napa Auto Parts is a good place to know. If you need professional help to work on your car, they can recommend a dozen Napa Car Care Centers with ASE certified technicians. Go check it out. 5 different locations, locally owned between Preston and Providence, and they are the gold winner of the Best of Northern Utah in auto parts.
You know, Eric, I think this segment, we have a still full text line. But I feel like we need some positive news to wrap up this first hour, and that is Utah State softball.
Okay, yes.
Probably the most difficult 6-game stretch they were probably going to go through in the entire season, especially with conference play. With San Diego State, it was a road trip to San Diego State, and then a home 3-game series against Boise State. Like, both those teams were like top 50 in the softball RPI. Then Utah State, they were hanging around in the 140s, 150s. They go 3-3 against those two teams, including winning the season series against Boise State 2-1. So nice, you go 3-3 against the toughest part of your schedule. Like, you get a win over San Diego State, to split that 1-2. And then you go 2-1 over Boise State. Todd Judge has got something going on there.
Yeah, excited to see what's going on there.
Like, I don't know, like, conference championships may not be in the cards, although when you go 3-3 against probably the 2 of the bigger contenders this season for that conference title, he may put himself kind of in that conversation, depending on how he handles the rest of the conference. But not a bad start for Todd Judge in softball.
Yeah, and Utah State hosted the Mountain West Gymnastics Championship over the weekend. Utah State came in second behind Boise State.
Yeah,
nice showing for the Aggies. Coach Kristen White trying to build something there.
Yeah, so we got a lot of these non-revenue sports, as we call them. A lot of good work being done.
A couple more texts. 1909. I'm sad Sprinkle left, but understand the motivations and appeal. However, the tampering behind the scenes leaves a bad taste with me. Tough to tell athletes to be bought in when the captain already has a foot out the door for what seems to be most of the season. My takeaway is we're still a long way from being equitable to the athletes that actually do the winning. Darius Brown single-handedly saved our season, and he won't see a dime.
That's not true. He will see a dime.
He's going to be just fine.
Like, he's not getting paid probably maybe as much as he should, and he's not going to get the big payday that Danny Sprinkle just got.
No, but he's going to go play professionally.
Yeah. So
we got a lot more of your texts coming through. We'll get to those. Hang tight with us. Continue to weigh in and chime in on the news today that Danny Sprinkle, he's out. He's headed to Washington. He's taken their job. And where does Utah State go next to replace him? We'll discuss next hour here on the Full Court Press.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. When we get to this time of the year, it's normal to hear coaches complain about their spot in the tournament, where they're seated, or the schools that were passed over may still be upset. But for the most part, when you look at the results from the first two rounds, the committee may deserve a standing ovation, or at least a nice round of applause, because through two rounds, all four number one seeds are in the hunt. The same can be said for the number two seeds. Iowa State, Arizona, Tennessee, and Marquette. They've all looked the part. No matter what the committee does, there's always going to be upsets. There's always going to be disappointments. And there's always going to be questions, like the exclusion of schools like Seton Hall and St. John's and what they would have done had they got into the tournament. The committee seems to have nailed its assessment of some of the best teams in the country. And although we all love a good Cinderella story, and we don't have one this year, you have to acknowledge the NCAA and the committee got it right. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.